I'm pleased to be joined by a very special guest, Travis Ishikawa, former, of course, San Francisco Giant, was on television last night, witnessed the game, also does great work with the minor league system for the Giants. And Travis, we appreciate you joining us here today. What's going on, man? How are you?
Not a whole lot. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Well, the first place I want to start, Travis, is you are obviously a part of two World Series teams, had a lot of historic moments throughout those postseason runs and regular season runs. But I'm curious, in that clubhouse, when do you really know you got something cooking? Like, when do you kind of have a feeling that you're a part of a club that can make some noise? Because we're in June, Giants have won 8 in a row, people are feeling good. But when do you really know that this is a team that could make some noise?
Honestly, for us, it started in 2009. I think we had that late playoff run, obviously got eliminated in September, but it was the first time in a while that we'd be able to be in it that late. And I think right there, we kind of knew it was going to be a special group, that we were just missing a couple pieces. And obviously the Giants did a great job of bringing in, Aubrey and Pat and Cody Ross, and then, getting Javi and them at the break. And I think we went into spring training in 10 with the intention of making a postseason run, and actually because of the success the year before, actually believe in it. I think when you get kind of, in the halfway part, you kind of see where you're at, and you kind of see the vibe that the team's bringing, and the way you're playing games and the way you're winning baseball games. Like, are you just getting lucky more times than not, or are you legitimately winning? And, those early 2010 teams with the pitching that we had, all we had to do was just play defense and try to scratch a couple runs, and we knew we had a chance to win every night.
Travis, the Giants obviously didn't get Aaron Judge. They didn't get Carlos Correa. And there was a lot of disappointment this offseason. And quite frankly, heading into spring training, there wasn't a lot of optimism. But now we're 70-ish games into the year. We're seeing some young players, Patrick Bailey, Matos, Casey Schmidt. We're hearing about Harrison and Luciano still in the minor leagues. Is this better in a way than signing a free agent, having your own guys come up and contribute to success?
I mean, as a guy that was able to be a part of that, yeah, I think the biased opinion would be yes. I think from a fan standpoint and from a front office standpoint, you want to win. It doesn't matter how. Obviously, you like being able to you have that pride of saying, we drafted these guys, we developed these guys, and they're a big integral part of help coming up, which I do think is very beneficial and very helpful. As disappointing as that was, I think that the other, 26, 27 guys that are on that team right now, they don't see it like that. They're not looking back on, man, what if we had either of these two guys? They're looking at the 25 guys next to them going, what do we need to do to win each and every night? I think that's what we're seeing right now in these last, basically 2 months now, month and a half since May, the best record in baseball. So I think these guys believe, I think they're hungry, and I think the chemistry between them all right now is incredible, because you can just see it being executed on the field.
Well, and a lot of it, Travis Ishikawa is with us here on 95.7 The Game, is because of that infusion and a nice blend of young and old. And I'm curious, as someone that has both, of course, been a part of a growing core, you mentioned 2009 and then the win in 2010, but also as a part of the 2014 team, seeing some younger guys come up, how much does it help when you get that infusion of youth? And how much, as a young guy, did you try to push some of those older players to maybe get the best out of them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you get the younger guys coming up, it gives you a sense of energy. And I think, Yaz was on our post-game show after hitting that walk-off, and he's giving credit to those guys, too. He even said, that the young guys coming up bring just a different type of energy and kind of pushing the older guys, into like a youthful spirit that they had when they first came up. But, the point too is it works both ways. You see, Crawford kind of, you saw Schmidt sitting with Crawford in Arizona, just trying to pick his brain, and Bailey and Matos coming up, and even the guy, Wynn and Ryan Walker and the young guys on the mounds. You can just see that they have a calm to them. They have a presence to them, like they've been in the big leagues for a couple of years. It seems like the game's slowing down for them in the box or on the mound. It looks like big situations don't get to them. And you got to credit the veterans of the club, the Crawfords and the Hanigers and the Yazes and the Slaters, and then, Logan Webb and all the bullpen guys that have been around the league, I think are definitely making a huge impact on our young rookies as well.
Travis, let me ask you a little bit about the pitch clock. I mean, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, and I loved baseball, then fell out of love with it a little bit. But I've been watching games this year, and I got to tell you, I almost feel guilty because I guess I can't call myself an old school guy anymore. But I think this pitch clock is absolutely incredible, and it has made the game just go by quicker. It's made it more exciting. It's made it more enjoyable. Is that okay that I like it this much?
I feel I was right there with you. I questioned whether or not I wanted to be considered an old school type of player too. But with anything, right? Like life adapts, and the game, and just like the game, it adapts, and you got to figure stuff out to find the new cool things. And I was against the pitch clock as well. We kind of messed around with that for my last couple of years in AAA. We had a pitch clock, and I got caught for a violation, and I thought the reason behind it was really stupid. But as a coach now, and as you see the game, and you kind of see, before the pitch clock stuff, there just seemed to be a lot more time in between pitches than there ever was. I'm sure, like you said, growing up in the 70s, I'm pretty sure there wasn't 45 seconds to a minute in between pitches back when you played. I'm pretty sure even if they had a pitch clock, their pace was probably about the same. And I just think the game started to slow down, with pitchers and with hitters, both just kind of taking their time and milking the clock in the box or on the mound. So I'm a fan of it now too. We've been dealing with it in the minor leagues here for the last couple of years, and I wasn't a fan with it at first just because it was new, because guys hadn't really adapted to it. And to be fair, at times I didn't think it was being officiated correctly. I thought it was more of a gray area than it was a black and white. And I think that here in the minor leagues down here in San Jose, and I think even in the big leagues, I think they've turned it into more of a black and white rule. There's no gray area. And so I'm fine with that. If that's going to be the rule, as long as it's being officiated correctly and evenly, I'm a fan of it too, because there's been some times where I'm like, man, this would have been a 4.5 hour game, and it ended up being like 2.5 hours. So, definitely a fan of more action in a shorter period of time.
Two-time World Series champion Travis Ishikawa is with us here on 95.7 The Game, also doing pre and post for NBC Sports Bay Area. And like you mentioned, Travis also involved with the San Jose Giants. And I'm curious because we've heard, the last couple of years about getting these guys up, and fans want to see the young guys, and they finally are. I generally contend that if a player rises through the ranks and eventually makes it to the show and gets here and is contributing, isn't that an indication that the system is working? I'm wondering, as someone who has both been through it and, of course, now is also in part responsible for that talent, how do you view that timeline that fans have been clamoring for and now reaping the benefits of with the Baileys, the Schmidts, and the Matoses and the young guys that have helped this team?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one thing to really kind of put in perspective too, right? You got Bailey, you got Schmidt, and you got Matos, and I think even Winter and even Walker, the five guys that have really made an impact for the Giants this year, those guys were all like 19 or 20 draft picks. And so, we forget that even though we had a kind of a half a season in the big leagues in 2020, our minor league season was completely canceled that year. And so those are guys in their first full season or in their draft season that lost a year of baseball. And so that's a year of development that they missed out on. And so I think the big part is 2021 was almost like their first kind of full taste in professional baseball, whether it was coming up from the Dominican and have the rigors of playing every day away from home, or if it's, fresh out of a college season, they're used to, practicing 3 or 4 days a week and then playing on the weekend. Now they're playing 5-6 games a week. And so I think just the physical rigors, the mental rigors of what that was kind of an adjustment period for these guys. So I think, in a fair way, right, from the front office and the fans' perspective, right, it probably took a little bit longer to see these guys up here, but also reminding them that they missed a year of development, and now that they're here, maybe a little bit later than we would have liked to see them, but we're seeing the impact they're making at the big league level.
Well, and are you surprised at all by the immediate and positive impact that you've seen from those five guys that you mentioned?
I'm not surprised because I knew the talent was there. I think my biggest surprise is the mentality side and just the way that they're going about their business. Like I said earlier, these guys look like they're not affected by the big league stage, and they look like they've been in the league for a couple of years, and they're, we mentioned it yesterday, right? We had both Matos, Bailey, and Schmidt all come up in that ninth inning and all contribute with quality at bats. And, they didn't look overmatched. They didn't look like the game sped up on them. They were able to slow the game down, get the pitch they wanted, and if they didn't, they took the walk and gave the guy on deck the chance to win the game. And then, even looking at, Walker and Keaton, I mean, let's not overlook Keaton. He got ambushed by one of the best hitters in baseball on a first-pitch heater, and then proceeded to go 5 innings and give up 2 hits, right? Struck out 3 with no walks, or struck out 4 with no walks. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment. The reason we were in the chance to win that game was because Keaton wins, 5 through 9th inning pitching performance as well.
Travis, how important is veteran leadership, especially if you have to incorporate some young players?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. If you get a group of just young guys, they don't know what to do or what routines are supposed to look like, how to be professional, how to work on a daily basis. They're going to just kind of be lost and trying to figure things out for themselves. And I think the learning curve will take a little bit longer. But, when you got those seasoned vets, there's just the Giants are full of them with the Floreses and like I said, Craw and Slade, guys that have been in the league for so long. I think these guys, whether they're vocal or not, they just lead by example. And I think these young guys are coming in, they're seeing how they act in the clubhouse. I think they see how they work pregame, what they do during the game to make adjustments. And the matter of the fact, too, right, these young kids, they were already really good, hard workers, good character guys. And now they're just getting just that much more of an edge by seeing how guys have done it for so long.
Well, we hope it continues to reap benefits for the San Francisco Giants. Travis Ishikawa with us on 95.7 The Game. And Travis, thank you so much for your time. I know you got a game later on out there in Stockton. Hope that's another top prospect, Reggie Crawford, also some other guys on that team. You continue to develop him, and hopefully we'll see him in the show soon. But thank you so much for your time, and we appreciate it.
No, thank you guys so much for having me on. It was a blast. Appreciate you.
That's Travis Ishikawa, 2-time World Series champ.